Dear white men, you're fucked. You're being replaced because none of you have children. Even those of you bitching about the replacement online like little girls don't give the gumption to fuck. I see white men bragging about having 5 kids as if it's an achievement, lol. 5, lol, per year, right? Oh, all you white boys lost control of your women, and now they won't accept multiple wives anymore. Now they tell you they don't want any more kids. One's enough. They don't want to do their God-given job anymore. No, they want Instagram likes instead. So your genetic potential is stumped by the whims of some singular female, a female who takes 9 whole months to grow a single baby. Other races have multiple ovens for bread. We're not cooked. Some bitch is screaming at you about loyalty and you're sitting there saying, yes, baby. Jerking off to porn when she's asleep or maybe cheating with a side bitch. Condom on. Oh no, I couldn't get another woman pregnant. My wife would kill me. Total fucking losers. Soon your race will be nothing more than a few pages in a history book. A lesson on what happens when you fuck the female disease so hard. They're obsessed with money and social media as opposed to being one of many baby factories for a king. 30 children minimal for the dons. White people, go talk to your best friend, wife, about what to do this weekend. Maybe you can take a nice walk around IKEA. Enjoy extinction.
God, all these men being ordered around by women, being told that you're supposed to be loyal and faithful. These terrible bossy women, you know, like this one.
If it's the right person, if you marry the right person, and I'm saying this to someone, it's why I won't accept you. I think you are actually a libertarian right now, and I won't accept you as a libertarian. I think you will not be one in a few years. If I had to make a prediction, I think you will lean towards conservatism, because even in just the crack of you talking about the attack on masculinity, because first you say, oh, well, if everyone wants to do what they want to do, if you guys all agree and you want to be homosexuals, fine. Yeah. But then we'll start to realize that libertarianism, live and let live, is what welcomes in through the door. I'm, very against every ill that homosexuality has brought. Yep. And again, these are consenting people that are doing what they want to do.
This is true.
But look, evil is evil, sin is sin, and we're yesterday talking about homosexual marriage. Today we're talking about transing.
Well, it's such a slippery slope. This is the thing, right?
Which is why you should get married. Because the guard against that is strong families.
Is it?
It is a nuclear family. It is a mom and a dad sitting around the dinner table saying, what did you learn at school today? It's mom guarding at home, going through their homework and seeing what they're learning and saying, absolutely not. And it's dad going to work, building, and that nuclear family is the only guard against handing over your children to the government, which is why in the next 5 years, I just think you should get married.
The only guard except Islam.
Well, no.
I don't have to worry about my children's homework. Thank you very much. It's all handled by God. And it's interesting you said that, though. It is a good point. And I think Matt Walsh actually said something about me having, I have children from a few different women. I don't like to give details on it. But so does Elon Musk. And I do think, although this may be elitist, I will state here that at a certain level of finance, it's not the same crime as it would be if I was a traditionally financed individual. I can afford 2 or 3 families, and I can afford to see them all, and I can afford to go to 3 countries in a single day on my jet if I need to.
Other than the fact that we've agreed that you're going to get married in the next 5 years.
Sure. I get 4 wives.
No, not 4 wives, just one monogamous relationship.
Okay.
That submission in a marriage is not a bad thing, actually. It's a beautiful thing.
I agree.
And these messages have been perverted.
Thank God we have got guys like Andrew Tate and Justin Waller here to put women in their place and tell women how they're supposed to be conservative and how they're supposed to get married young, be loyal and faithful, have as less sexual partners as possible. And thank God you've got people like Andrew Tate and Justin Waller here to talk about how if a woman has a career, she's going to be a crazy cat woman because for some reason they don't think a woman can have a career and a family at the same time, even though a lot do. But, you know, the point I'm getting at here is, like, a lot of these Christian conservatives, like, they constantly moan about women, they constantly moan about the modern Western woman, and constantly pick on everything women do, but then they praise the likes of Andrew Tate, Justin Waller, guys from Fresh and Fit and all that. It's like different for men. Like, is it?
Destiny, why do you hate Andrew Tate?
Why do I hate Andrew Tate? Assuming that he's not lying about everything he said online, he's undoubtedly a sex trafficker, which I think is kind of shitty. So,
you know, if you're Christian, there's not like hidden small print in the Bible that says, you know, it's wrong for women to sin, but it's okay for men. Like, it's wrong for women to have sex out of wedlock, but not for men. Okay, the rules apply to men and women. And now, since like Andrew Tate has like, you know, posted this tweet, there's a few of the conservatives disagreeing with it and being like, oh well, we think he says some things that are good for men. But stuff like this, I don't think it's quite right, you know.
I think often he diagnoses the problems correctly. Where I disagree with him is in the prescription. Like, what do we do about the problem?
You know, we've interviewed Andrew Tate multiple times, flown out to Madrid, flown out to Romania, had a great time with him out there. I think he's an awesome dude. I also respect Ben, but I want to bring in the panel. Yeah. Here's what's happening with Tate and Ben. So here's what's happening. Ben Shapiro goes nuclear in a takedown of quote-unquote con artist Andrew Tate, says he's selling lies to men, quote-unquote Jang-O, on his webcam business. They don't want to do their God-given job anymore. They want Instagram likes instead. There is a lot of truth behind some of the hyperbolic nature of what Andrew Tate says. Sure. But Ben Shapiro says, okay, Andrew Tate. Do you have that clip of what he actually said? Do you have the timestamp where he starts off saying, okay, so again, one true thing and many false things. Do you have that clip?
Ben Shapiro?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, play this.
Audio.
Not groomed. The reality is he groomed women into getting into the webcam industry, which is pornography. Well, Andrew Tate has this. This is his game.
Turn this up a little, guys.
He's been incredibly popular online for a reason, which we'll examine in a moment. Number one, Andrew Tate is very entertaining. He's entertaining because he explodes the myths. But the way that he, quote-unquote, explodes the myths is he plays a really stupid game. It's a game for stupid people. The game is like this. I'm going to say two transgressive things that violate the taboos of the culture around me. One of those things is true, and one of those things is false. But because they are both transgressive, and because people will oppose me on both of them, one for bad reasons and one for good reasons, this means that I have somehow gotten under the skin of the Matrix. Everyone opposes me, which is why I'm a rebel. That's Andrew Tate's entire game. So he will say things like, feminism has ruined men by usurping the male role and robbing men of their initiative. That is a true thing. That is a true thing that is not politically correct to say. Then he will say another transgressive thing. That is absolutely false. Like, for example, women love it when you treat them like garbage, and you should treat women like garbage, and dominant men are the kind of men who treat women like garbage. That is not a true thing. It's a transgressive thing. And it's transgressive specifically because it's evil. It is a bad thing to say. It is a bad thing to think. Women should not be treated like trash. And good women do not want to be treated like trash. And you treating women like trash is not going to make your life better, and it's not going to make their life better. But it is a transgressive thing to say. It is taboo. And so Andrew Tate has violated so many taboos, and he can get away with it because, of course, the rules don't apply to him. He's a Nietzschean Ubermensch because he is very, very buff, and because he works out a lot, and because he smokes cigars. And this means you should listen to him. You should listen to him, in fact, so much that you should pay him $49.99 a month to join Hustlers University, where you will learn other secrets. Like, for example, you don't need hard work and initiative in order to really get ahead. You can learn his magical methods for making lots and lots of money. You can own a Bugatti, just like Andrew Tate owns a Bugatti. And all you have to do is listen to his magical business advice, which explodes all of the matrix, explodes the matrices of truth, the immutable truths. Now, why am I talking about Andrew Tate today? The reason I'm talking about Andrew Tate today is because Andrew Tate, again, playing the two transgressive things, one true, one false game, has over the past few months Said some true things and then said a lot of false things. All
Okay,
of them
right there.
transgressed.
And it's like, okay, Andrew Tate has been saying, like, since day one, or since, like, he's been, like, you know, internet famous, he's been talking about how he thinks that men should sleep with as many women as possible. He's been quite open about the fact that he thinks that men should be able to cheat, and so most of the red pill men seem to have that opinion. This is not a new thing, okay? This is not like this tweet isn't like just a new idea that Andrew Tate has come out with. He's been saying this stuff, like, you know, since he's been like talking on the internet, okay? And a lot of the a few of the conservatives would say stuff like oh well, we don't agree with everything that Andrew Tate says, but at least he's, you know, helping young men live a more conservative lifestyle. He's pushing more young men into the direction of being conservative. Like, I've heard them say that a few times, and I've, like, always thought, like, where do you get that idea from? Like, Andrew Tate is about as far from conservative as possible. Like, his views are, like, exactly the opposite of conservative. Like where do you get this idea? Like, he promotes the idea of sleeping with as many women as possible, don't be loyal and faithful to one woman, get as many women pregnant as you possibly can to pass on your genetics, but don't bother looking after your children. Like, it's like, he kind of thinks, like, well, if you pay for your children, that's the father's role, you know, and that's the same with that Justin Waller as well. It's like, well, just impregnate as many women, and it's the woman's place to look after the children, and the man isn't even supposed to be involved. Just, you know, throw some money at the woman like she's a prostitute and not give a toss about your children, okay? And it's like, you know, and bearing in mind that a lot of these conservatives and the red pill manosphere and all that complain about single mothers, but they're okay with Andrew Tate and Justin Waller coming out with this rubbish, okay? And when these conservatives, they sit there and say, oh, wow, he's encouraging more men to be conservative. It's like, how?
That despite the fact that you admittedly say that you are not a conservative, and despite the fact that I don't think you're overtly political, none of that really matters. I think what matters now is what you will do with the platform that you have,
Completely.
what impact you will have.
Completely. And inspiring people to free think and to not believe all the slave programming which is told to them, and to not just follow lockstep with the lies that are given to them, I think in and of itself makes you a conservative, and to a degree makes you political. Unfortunately, now that's how the divide exists. If you're teaching people to think for themselves and be strong people of agency and self-respect, then you're going to be on one side of the political spectrum. And if you're teaching people to be the absolute opposite, you're going to be on the other side. And by extension, I guess I am political and I am conservative, just because I'm telling men to stand up and to be strong and to think for themselves. And that makes you resist the slave programming. And I like to believe that the conservatives themselves have resisted slave programming the most. But yeah, it's a scary world we're now living in, where things that I'm saying, which were basically completely accepted by the entire population 15 years ago, are enough to make me the most hated man in the world. But isn't that crazy? I think
He's as far from a conservative. His opinions are far from conservative as possible. And I was trying to work out how they think he's encouraging men to be conservative, right? And do you know what I think it is? I think it is basically just because he will sit and bitch with the rest of the conservatives about women.
First and foremost, I think, and I speak out on this, women are not desirable right now. Everyone's a Kim Kardashian clone. I asked you earlier, what don't men want? And you said promiscuity. Well, that seems about the only thing that's being offered right now. Women aren't desirable right now, as in the Western Hemisphere as a whole. And of course,
finding a wife is hard.
Finding a wife is hard.
I do believe we need masculinity, especially in the households, because I believe that women are more emotionally led and men are more logically led.
It's true.
And I think that the propaganda machine and the news machine primarily uses emotional arguments as opposed to logical arguments.
And women fall for the emotional
arguments. So if you have a woman who's in charge of the household and her man can't resist her commands, and they put on the news, be afraid, COVID's going to kill everybody. She gets afraid. Now you have a whole household of people with masks on, 8 vaccines, and down the insanity hole. Whereas a man with logic would sit there and do exactly what I did and say, look, all right, let's calm down for 2 minutes. Let's just wait, because the news lies. So let's just wait till Wednesday before we start taking injections. Let's chill. So I think also masculinity is needed, because what they're going to do when they try and make us all slaves, they're going to use emotional arguments.
education system. They're actively learning that this feminism is what you need to aspire towards. Like when you get out of school, women, you should want to compete with men in climbing the corporate ladder. I actually think there's a mass brainwash that's taking place.
Oh, completely. They want to neuter men. And the way you do that is to empower women to a point where they're now the dominant power, especially in the Western world. I believe we live in a matriarchy. I don't believe it's a patriarchy like we're told it is. I actually believe it's the other way around. I can't think of a single law that benefits men over women, but I can certainly think of some that benefit women over men. I think it's very dangerous to be a man in the world today. I think that if women want to destroy a man, it's extremely easy to do. We can look at my current scenario and situation I'm in and be a lot more careful with your interactions with women as a whole, especially in light of the Me Too movement and all these other things. Be very respectful. This is a small clip. If you watch the video in its entirety, I actually talk about extensively about how you don't want to make a woman feel pressured. You don't want to pick up a rape charge for no reason.
And sit and moan about how, women shouldn't have careers. If women are single, that's bad. Women should be married as soon as possible. Because he will sit there and moan about women and talk about how women should be controlled by the man, they seem to see that as, oh, he's in favour of conservatism. Because they all bitch and blame everything about women. But the thing that these people, a lot of them seem to be missing, is that just because he picks on women, like the rest of you, doesn't mean that he himself is living a conservative lifestyle. He is living as far from a conservative lifestyle as possible. He is a massive hypocrite for criticising women for not being conservatives. Okay. And so a lot of the Christian conservatives on YouTube are massive hypocrites for the double standards that they hold men and women to, like constantly picking on women and letting men off no matter what. Now, I do think, because Ben Shapiro is sort of, he doesn't like Andrew Tate, and he's sort of attacked him a few times, and over this tweet as well, he's called him evil, okay, and at least Ben Shapiro, just like Jordan Peterson, doesn't agree with him, doesn't think that it's right that he is being praised for being a pimp, okay, and I am glad to hear those guys say that, because I think, quite frankly, it is disgusting the way that not just a lot of the conservatives, but the red pill, the manosphere, like just don't care about that. I think is absolutely disgusting. The amount of times they go on about how us women, we don't empathise with men, and yet they don't care. They don't care about the fact, there's hours of footage of Tate admitting to grooming young women and teenage girls to do sex work. He's talked about getting them to fall in love with him and to think that he loves them, in order to manipulate them to do this sex work. We've seen video footage of him beating women with belts, one of them like running and locking herself in the bathroom to get away from him. We've heard the voice recording of him sexually abusing women. He's been accused of raping a lot of women, and a lot of them they come up with the same story about how he strangled them. Some of them say they passed out, and then the next day their eyes were all bloodshot because he was strangling them and having sex with them when they were passed out, which obviously is rape. Okay,
his allegations amount to rape or not? Again, I'm stressing. Not did he do it or not, but if you take those allegations, would they amount to rape? And those allegations are that the sex may have started consensually in some instances, but he then started to throttle them. And this is across multiple victims, the same MO across multiple victims.
So there's consistency.
Consistency, right? He would throttle them until the blood vessels in their eyes burst, they passed out, and then he would continue having sex with them. Now that, by any definition, is rape, right? No one's consenting to that. And you can hardly consent to it if you're unconscious. But the problem you have is, these commentators online, etc. It's a case of, well, they were working for him, doing webcam. They lived with him. They had a relationship with him. Why did they stick around? Why did they stay? It must have been consensual. But it just shows a real lack of understanding of abusive, controlling and coercive relationships. right?
Mm-hmm.
And if someone has that power over you, if you're that scared of them, if they've throttled you until you passed out and they tell you, that if you leave, they're going to hurt you, what are you going to do? But trying to get that message across is far more difficult because it's nuanced.
Especially for some, like a lot of these lads online, they're men.
Yeah.
They've never been in a position where they're having a sexual encounter with someone who could kill them if they wanted.
Yes.
They've never been in fear of their life.
Exactly.
During a sexual, so for them to put their mind inside of that, small woman's body, they can't empathize.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of people talking are hero worshipping the guy who's claiming he's innocent. So they're naturally going to want to believe him.
Yes, of course. I mean, look, it's
well, when
based
you've
on the
got
evidence
in the
I've
region
seen.
of 20 people now, or more.
Yes, coming forward.
Yeah, the term "smoke without fire" springs to mind. You know what I mean? Like, it's amazing that they made this mistake, especially when you lay it out like that. We had the video evidence, we had a witness, we had a person saying it happened to them. What more do you need?
Yeah, you've got multiple victims.
Yeah,
and independent of each other, and all telling the police, making a complaint, which rests on a similar fact pattern, which is they were all throttled to the point of unconsciousness. No one makes that up in a vacuum, right?
Yeah, exactly. When you say that they weren't linked to each other, they were still telling the exact same story.
Exactly. I mean, I find it puzzling, but maybe I'm naive. I don't know, but I find it distinctly puzzling as to why there wasn't an effective investigation in the first place and why the CPS, given the evidence that they had, didn't do anything.
The woman who received the message of that he loved doing that to her, he also left voicemails as well, didn't he? I'm just going to play a couple just so that people at home can get an idea of, because it's surprising how many people have not heard these.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming this is a woman who you directly have worked with.
I'm not going to confirm or deny.
Okay.
But if they're then the voice notes that I think they are, then I can attest to their authenticity.
Okay. So that so as in, because some people would say artificial intelligence would make these or whatever. Yeah. But you're saying, that.
Well, there's a very clear answer to that. That's the technology to do that didn't exist in 2014.
Okay.
Right.
So I'll play a little bit of this. And what someone has done is spliced in the voice actor.
Yeah.
Of her account as well. So I'll just play a little bit of this so that people can get an idea. It's very short.
Am I a bad person? Because the more you didn't like it, the more I enjoyed it. I loved how much you hated it. Turned me on. Why am I like that? Why?
Whilst we were having sex, he put his hand on my throat and strangled me until I lost consciousness. But he was still having sex with me when I kind of came back around again.
I am one of the most dangerous men on this planet. Sometimes you forget exactly how lucky you were to get by me. Would you rather me pin you down and make you do things you didn't like, or would you rather you didn't like that I was thinking I can do whatever I want to? That's what it is. I'm the smartest person on this planet.
And then the next day, one of the whites of my eyes had gone completely red. Apparently, that's kind of common in domestic abuse cases where there's a lack of oxygen in your brain. So your blood vessels start bursting to kind of try and get the oxygen there.
Are you seriously so offended I strangled you a little bit? You didn't pass out.
But he kind of kept saying, I own you, you belong to me, threatening to kill me.
Chill the out, Jesus Christ, I thought you were cool.
What do you make of that, mate?
It's horrific.
He used to strangle us as well. There was another time when he came into the bedroom, me and the other girl, we would sleep in the same bed with Andrew, but at this time the girl had a partner, so she was not interested in Andrew at all. And I had gone to the shower, I came back and I noticed he was, I saw him raping her. And
And, it is disgusting. I think it's absolutely disgusting that some people can be aware of this evidence and they can listen to the voice recordings and the video footage, and still sit there and praise Andrew Tate, okay? And not give a toss about what he's done to women, okay? And also not give a toss about the fact that he only got rich through scamming men, okay? He's admitted, like, basically, he became a millionaire because he scammed men out of their money. He had men, he said this himself, taking out loans, selling their houses, and all this because they thought that they were going to meet these models, okay?
I had these guys selling their houses, life savings, loans, all of it to me. Give me it all. So, like, and it's basic shit, right? You'd have a guy.
Feel bad or no?
Fuck no. Give a solitary fuck.
So this was lonely men he's been scamming out of money. Okay, so again, he doesn't care about men. He doesn't give a toss about men. Okay, and here he is insulting men. He's basically insulting men for, you know, if you're a man who you fall in love and you have children with a woman that you love, or even if you don't have children with a woman that you love, but if you're monogamous, oh, apparently you're just a simp, okay? You're supposed to, like, have the morals of an alley cat, apparently, and just go around having sex with random women and just impregnating them and not give a toss about the women and not give a toss about your children and just sit there and be like, I'm an alpha, I have lots of sex and I've passed on my genes loads of times. You know, he's insulting men here, okay? Just like, he doesn't mind ripping men off, he doesn't mind insulting men. Okay, and the women, you know, he thinks of them as just incubators to just have children. That's his word. He doesn't have, you know, he's incapable of having any deep feelings for a woman he's involved with, and he doesn't care about you men either, okay? Alright, so, you know, I'm sick of these sort of grifters, you know, in the red pill, in the conservative sort of movement, you know, sort of saying nice things about Tate just because it's what their audience wants to hear, and they're not going to criticise him because they'll lose subscribers and because they'll get more money if they praise this guy, and they'll sit there and, like, act like he's one of them when he can be further from being conservative than anybody, and he's not pro-male. He doesn't care about anybody, all right? Okay, so that's all I've got to say about that for now. Thank you for listening.